the Jets did Joe Douglas a huge favor. Now, I don't know if that was the reasoning or the logic for it or what. This is the last year of his contract. Everybody knew he was done. Joe Douglas knew.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is the rare Power Rankings Wednesday, presented, of course, by DraftKings. I am Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Last night, I called some Maction, Kent State, and Akron. I'll be heading out to Houston tomorrow. I got the Titans and the Texans. I did call a Titans game on the radio earlier this year. The game that Levis got hurt, Mason Rudolph came in against the Dolphins, and the Titans ended up winning that game. Have not done a Texans game yet so far this year, so looking forward to it. We switched things up on you a little bit because there was more kind of breaking news for Albert Breer to talk about yesterday on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Plus, with my travel and everything, just easier to do power rankings today. As a reminder, we're only a couple days away from me announcing new winners for this week. You're all winners that listen to the show. Don't ever let anybody tell you any different. But you can be like winners, chicken dinners, if you spread the word via social media. Listen, I know a lot of you follow at Ross Tucker NFL and at Ross Tucker Pod on different platforms. Just engage in any way. In particular, make a comment or a reply or a quote post. We look for them. We see them, and then we reward you. Same with those of you that take advantage of any of our glorious sponsors, right? Whether that is westshorehome.com/Ross or the Game Time app, which is amazing. I mean, there's a lot of different options here at this point. You can send me a picture of Labatt beer or Larceny bourbon, whatever it is. It all counts. Ross at RossTucker.com. And then I love the YouTube comments. We get a lot of YouTube subscribers every week, which is cool. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. But make a comment so I can actually send you one of these videos. If you do anything to support the show, forward it to me. You can just rate and review, by the way, on Apple Podcasts. But forward it to me, Ross at RossTucker.com, so you can be a winner. I like making as many of you winners as possible. It's big show time.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
All right, Ross, we're going to start our power rankings with a team that was pretty much at the center of yesterday's show, the New York Giants at 32.
They absolutely were. Power rankings, by the way, presented by Labatt Blue Light. If you're one of these bottom 5 teams and your team still has 7 games to play, you might want to buy a bunch of Labatt Blue Lights to drink by yourself while you're watching these games. I'm kidding a little bit. Anyway, live life to the power of we. We got Thanksgiving coming up, the holiday season. Great time to have some beers with family members and enjoy yourself and your family and friends. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Been a busy couple days for the New York teams. It's almost like, we'll get to that with the Jets. It's almost like the Jets didn't like that the Giants were getting all the attention for making a move with Daniel Jones on Monday. So it was like they had to top that. Let's fire the GM, Joe Douglas, on Tuesday, since everyone's talking about how the Giants are benching Daniel Jones. You know, I just think the Giants, I don't know that they're the worst team, but I would say these bottom 5 in particular, Giants, Jags, Titans, Browns, Cowboys, maybe even Raiders, Jets, Panthers, you can kind of throw them all in a hat and pick a name. We'll see if Tommy DeVito makes any difference whatsoever for the G-Men. I said on the Even Money Betting podcast, I'm kind of expecting them to get the new quarterback boost this week. We'll see if that actually happens or comes to fruition, but that's what where I think the Giants are going. I think there's a lot of interesting questions that could be asked and potentially answered about why the Giants are going with DeVito instead of Drew Lock.
As you mentioned, 31st is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who did lose wide receiver Gabe Davis for the remainder of the season.
But what's interesting about the Jaguars is, Jack, at least so far this week, the Ian Rappaport report has not come to fruition. You know, I predicted on Monday's show that I thought Doug Peterson would be fired by the end of the day, and I was doing that based upon, Ian Rappaport's report from Saturday night that major change was on the way for the Jaguars and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know. I guess maybe Shad Khan didn't like that. Maybe Shad Khan didn't like that somebody had, leaked that, or that someone had put that out there, and he didn't want that to be the case. So kudos, I suppose, to Shad Khan. I'll give him credit for not letting that report, or I guess somebody else who leaked that report, change what he wants to do.
30th, Tennessee Titans.
Going to see them up close and personal on Sunday. Looking forward to it. They've got a decent amount of good players, I would say. Now, Snead being hurt is a bummer, but I love what I've seen so far from Tavondre Sweat. Jeffrey Simmons is always awesome. Their defense has been pretty solid. Offensively, I'm a little disappointed by their offensive line from what I've seen, and that's something certainly that I'll be highlighting during the game on Sunday. And, they haven't been that far off, but I know I've already read where Will Levis is from. They haven't won a game that Will Levis has started and finished this year, so he's obviously kind of desperate and craving that.
29th is another team with a season-ending injury, the Browns, who lose DeJuan Jones for the year.
Well, that's especially bad because he had been playing left tackle and had been playing it pretty well and was looking like maybe he could be the left tackle the next couple years. He suffers a bad injury, season-ending surgery. I'm guessing they'll put Jedrick Wills probably back in there, but they did sign Jerron Christian off of the Rams practice squad to at least give them someone else that can potentially play that spot now that DeJuan Jones is down and lost for the year.
28th is the Cowboys.
This has to be, I've been doing this a long time, Jack, even a decent amount of time with you. This has to be the lowest the Cowboys have maybe ever been. But they've lost how many games in a row? They've lost how many games in a row at home? They've lost how many games in a row at home by how many points? I mean, at some point, you are what your record says you are. You are what we're watching and seeing, and the Cowboys are a bad team that still have, I think, at least 2, maybe 3 standalone games, which is not real good for any of us, quite frankly.
Next up is the Raiders at 27.
I think I said this on Monday's show, kind of going over that game that they had against the Dolphins that I called for CBS Sunday. I thought they made strides on offense. I was more disappointed with their defense in that game. You're letting Achane get to the corner. Nobody comes up and sets the edge. You're dropping a coverage on Jonnu Smith after the motion for a wide open touchdown. Critical penalties. I said this on Monday, I'll say it again. These teams, first of all, most of them aren't as talented as the other teams they're playing, but also they make the critical, dumb mistakes, penalties, or mental errors that are the difference in the outcome of games, and they do it often.
26th, the New York Jets, who, as you mentioned earlier, fired their general manager, Joe Douglas.
The Jets, you said it, Jack. I'm going to make that actually my Labatt take of the week. I do one take that I feel strongly about every week. It's presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together so you can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. The Jets did Joe Douglas a huge favor. Now, I don't know if that was the reasoning or the logic for it or what. This is the last year of his contract. Everybody knew he was done. Joe Douglas knew there was a 0% chance he was coming back. So them firing him now, he gets to collect the money for the rest of his contract whenever it runs out, maybe probably around the draft. He gets to spend the next 6 weeks plus with his family and friends for Thanksgiving and the holidays, and he gets to make calls and get a head start on landing some type of job somewhere else next season. Joe Douglas getting fired now is literally the best thing that could have conceivably happened to him at this point. As for the team, Jack, I mean, they're a disaster. We know they're a disaster. I would love to see an alternate universe where they had never fired Robert Saleh and just see how the season would have played out, because it felt like that made things worse as opposed to better. Kind of weird that their only win since then was against the 7-4 Houston Texans.
25th, Carolina Panthers.
I think they've won 2 in a row and coming off of a bye. So I'm curious, do they have some momentum? Is Bryce Young building up some confidence? They got a tall task, obviously, against the Chiefs on Sunday. That will not be easy. But listen, progress, right? I don't have them as one of the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't have them as one of the bottom 7 teams in the NFL.
24th, Chicago Bears.
Duh, Bears. So we mentioned it before. Thought it was a major step forward offensively. Again, the question is, was that a 1-week thing or can they continue it? Very curious, and mentioned this on the Even Money Betting podcast, to see how Caleb Williams matches up against Brian Flores and the Vikings D coordinator and that blitzing, confusing scheme, because we know Caleb Williams has a tendency to hold on to the ball and get sacked. So he better not do that against the Vikings. Otherwise, they will rack up a bunch of sacks.
23rd, New England Patriots.
The craziest thing about the Patriots is that it is the rest of the team that's letting down Drake May, not the other way around. It's the drops. I think Booty had a couple. It's, the penalties, low, illegal formation. I mean, Drake May, it was thought, hey, we want to protect him and this rest of the team's not ready. You're right. The rest of the team isn't ready to win games that Drake May is playing well enough for you guys to win.
22nd, New Orleans Saints.
It's weird that they won again but didn't move up at all in my power rankings. That was an impressive performance to win by 20 or whatever. I guess I had just moved them up so much last week. And I still don't think, I don't know that they're better than the Colts, Rams, Bucks, Falcons, right? The team's right ahead of them. So I think I had given them such a boost last week, Jack, that they couldn't really boost any higher this week.
21st is the Indianapolis Colts.
So the Colts got a huge, much needed win. And just as importantly, was Anthony Richardson playing as well as he did? Boy, did they need that. Did he need that? And that puts them firmly in the mix for a playoff spot, not only in the AFC South, but AFC wildcard picture. They're in this thing. Kind of makes you wonder how much he benefited from sitting for a couple weeks, how much he benefited from, or what would have happened if he had played in those last couple games.
20th is the lowest of the 4 teams in the very tight NFC West, the LA Rams.
The Rams are the other team another team that didn't move from last week. So this foursome, Patriots, Saints, Colts, Rams, they didn't really change my opinion of them. I think they're middling teams. The Rams did get the win over the Patriots, but as discussed, I thought there were a lot of issues that we saw from the Patriots in that game. More so, I think, than the Rams winning it. But Stafford came out, played very well, outdoors in the cold, and it wasn't that cold, but in New England, lit it up with Puka and Cooper Kupp. He's going to have to do it again. I mean, there's no way they beat the Eagles Sunday night unless Stafford has a big time game.
A team that did move from last week, the Buccaneers, 19.
They moved down, huh? It seems a
Yeah,
little
they
bit
slid a little
unfair. It seems a little bit unfair that they moved down several spots, kind of coming off of a bye, but I moved some teams ahead of them that I thought deserved it, like the Seahawks and the Dolphins and the Texans. So not your fault, Bucks, that you dropped, but that's how it works sometimes in Power Rankingsville.
18th is the Atlanta Falcons.
It's 2 weeks in a row they've dropped a decent amount. Last week it was only a couple spots because of that loss to the Saints. Now it's a bunch of spots. I mean, you get blown out like that after losing to a 2-win team like the Saints. It's not a good look for the Falcons. I mean, they had a chance, Jack, to run away with the NFC South, and now these last couple weeks they've basically allowed the rest of the division, the Bucks and the Saints, to kind of get back in this thing.
Another bird adjacent team at 17, although fictional, the Seattle Seahawks.
What do you mean bird adjacent? What do you mean fictional?
Seahawk's not a real bird.
What do you mean?
It's not like the Seahawk is not like a legitimate animal. There's no such thing as a Seahawk. Life. I don't know whoever decides that.
I'm looking it
Are you
up right
Googling
now.
this mid-show?
Yes, I am. Seahawk. Is that
It's an
right?
osprey, but like it's not like there's no such thing as a Seahawk.
I never knew that. That is unbelievable. I guess I just thought it was a specific type of hawk. I don't know. That is crazy. Wow, Jack, this might be your single biggest contribution to society at this point, because a lot of people didn't realize that. Nice. Okay. Well, Geno Smith has the bird-adjacent fictitious Seahawks right back up my power rankings a little bit with that big win over the Niners, moving up a couple spots and putting themselves right back in the mix in the NFC West, which is a jumbled mess right now.
16 is the Bengals.
You know, Bengal tigers are a real thing.
I'm aware. Yes,
Okay.
I know what. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Just
you.
want to make sure you knew that. They're not called Bengals. They're called Bengal tigers. But at any rate, yeah, I don't know what to say about them. I mean, their offense is electric. Hendrickson's amazing. Their three best players are all superstars playing amazing, and they can't win any close games.
15, Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, number 15. My biggest upgrade this week, the Miami Dolphins. Back-to-back wins. They looked awesome on Monday night against the Rams. Then they come right back against the Raiders team that has a lot more rest, a lot more time to prepare. Tua and the gang are firing on all cylinders right now. The Raiders couldn't get them off the field. The defense is playing at a pretty high level. The Dolphins are not out of this thing yet. I'm telling you, they're not, which is why I upgraded them so much in my power rankings this week. Upgrade your bathroom or entry door with West Shore Home. Get free installation plus 18 months, no interest, no payments when you visit westshorehome.com/Ross.
14th, 49ers.
So that was sort of a stunning loss for them, for me, against the Seahawks. I was not expecting that. I still would probably make them the favorite to win the NFC West. I still, if I had to bet, would bet on the Niners to win the NFC West. I mean, they're only a game behind the Cardinals.
13th is the Houston Texans.
Big time win. Texans really needed that after the stumble against the Lions. I know the Cowboys aren't very good. I don't care. They won by 24 points. Defense played well. You know, getting Nico Collins back is probably the biggest key. He adds an element to their offense they just didn't have, especially with Diggs out for the year.
12th, Denver Broncos.
I think we need to say it. Sean Payton's just a very good coach, and Bo Nix is considerably better than I think any of us thought he would be. Super impressed with what they've done this year and where they're at.
11th, Green Bay Packers.
Dun, 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 dun. Go, Pack, go. You know, that was not all that impressive of a win over the Bears. They probably got fortunate, but it seems like they actually win more than their fair share of those close games late.
10th, Washington Commanders.
So they've lost back-to-back games against albeit against pretty good teams, the Steelers and the Eagles, but their offense isn't quite firing on all cylinders. It'll be interesting to see how the Commanders look, when they come back in their next game. Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. It's a we thing, an experience best enjoyed together with good drinks and good folks. There's a reason why Smirnoff's the world's #1 vodka and an official vodka partner of the NFL. This year, there are more opportunities to watch football and make delicious Smirnoff cocktails than ever before. Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, Smirnoff and the NFL are here with you every step of the way. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days.
9th, Arizona Cardinals.
Unbelievable. Had a chance to get the bye and to thrive with how well they've played this year. Can they finish, though? There's still a long way to go. There's still 7 games to go, but Jonathan Gannon has them flying around on defense, and this is probably the best Kyler Murray's ever played.
8th, LA Chargers.
Dun, 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 dun. No. Go, Chargers, go. San Diego Superchargers. I am very much looking forward to the Hard Bowl on Monday night. Feels like a huge swing game for both those teams for playoff positioning. They're kind of going toe-to-toe with each other for a wild card spot, too, which is awesome. Harbaugh's done an awesome job. They have changed the culture, and they now believe they're going to win those close games when they never used to.
7th, Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. So that was a nice win, right? I mean, Darnold played much better, which they needed against a good defense that the Titans have, by the way. And then defensively, they did enough to slow down Will Levis. The Vikings, I think, are legit. I don't think they're Super Bowl legit, but I think they're win a playoff game or maybe 2 legit.
6th, Baltimore Ravens.
I only dropped them 1 spot after the Steelers loss. I just flipped them and the Steelers. I don't know. I kind of think if they played a series of games at a neutral site, I don't know. I don't know that I do feel like the Steelers will win. It would be close. If they had the real Justin Tucker, the Justin Tucker we've all come to know and love, I would take the Ravens for sure, but he's not. And Boz is.
5th, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep, that's who I'm talking about. Chris Boswell, 6 for 6 on those field goals. I didn't realize, Jack, 3 of them were over 50 yards. Super impressed by him and what Mike Tomlin's done. 1 more win, and they beat their season win total already, if they didn't already. Someplace, I can't remember if it was 8.5 or 7.5, but it's, he's a very, very good coach. Hopefully Steelers fans are recognizing that this year.
4th is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles, Eagles. Another really impressive win, and yet they don't move up in the power rankings because I don't necessarily think that they're better than these other 3 teams that are ahead of them right now.
3rd, Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow. It happened. It really happened. For the first time all season, the Chiefs are not the #1 ranked team in the all-important Ross Tucker Football Podcast Power Rankings. This is all the motivation they needed. This is more motivating than going for a 3rd straight Super Bowl, unprecedented. This is what the Chiefs needed to get back on track. They're probably definitely going to win the Super Bowl now that I dropped them to 3 in my power rankings.
2nd, Buffalo Bills.
It is so strange and interesting and a little bit weird that Bills fans have such mixed emotions about beating the Chiefs. They're happy they won the game. They want to beat the Chiefs anytime they can. They want to win the game. But there's definitely a recognition there that they're probably going to play again. Mahomes even said so after the game. And I think Bills fans are very leery of that rematch and how that rematch is going to go. Very difficult to beat another good team twice. Bills already beat the Chiefs once. And the number one team, the Detroit Lions, they deserve it. They've been blowing everybody out. I'm super impressed by the Lions, have been all year. They've withstood the loss of Hutchinson. Can they also withstand the loss of Alex Anzalone? We'll find out. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com, the best gift you could ever get a loved one for the holidays. I guarantee it. Myfrontpagestory.com. Would love to send you a signed picture or press pass or whatever if you go ahead and get a story from myfrontpagestory.com. Backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.